when I was trying to figure out what my life looked like free of pornography and free of all of that muck. I use the word muck intentionally. I say that because to me, what happened when I was watching pornography was that I would disassociate from what was reality and I spent too much time in the fantasy. This is why so many of us have that looky-loo look where we want to catch somebody as they walk by, or you see, a beautiful person and your mind goes to fantasies. Your mind goes to these other places. That's honestly how I learned the number one trick that I teach people, and the number one thing that helped me reprogram my brain. I call it my 3x3. If you've ever been in a program for SAA or sex addiction or porn addiction, you're probably familiar with the 3-second rule. If you're not, the 3-second rule simply says if you're looking for longer than 3 seconds, you're probably fantasizing and your brain is going a route that you don't want it to go. The hard part though for me was that in those rooms, that was it. That was where the lesson stopped, was don't look for 3 seconds. And so then I became hyper paranoid and hyper aware of don't look for more than 3 seconds. Don't look for more than 3 seconds. Don't look. I looked for more than 3 seconds. And what that created was all of a sudden I had now this other thing to fixate on, which is better. That's progress, but now I had another thing to check the box for my self-loathing, for me not loving myself. It was another thing that I could say, you did it again. You looked for 3 seconds again. You're looking again. And it was another way for me to recognize and acknowledge when I fell. At first, that's a good thing, right? Like I want to be able to see when I'm not doing good. I want to be able to see when there's an issue and I want to learn from my mistakes. But what also happens is then those mistakes can start to pile up. And if you haven't developed self love yet, and if you haven't developed confidence in yourself, they can pile up and they can weigh you down and hurt you in the long run. Oftentimes, maybe leading to a relapse and giving up and realizing that it's too hard. So, what I did is I took the 3-second rule and I expanded on it. And I created what I call my 3x3. So the example that I always give is you're sitting in traffic or you're at a red light and there's pedestrians walking by. It's the middle of summer, it's beautiful, and people are wearing clothes that are showing a lot of skin and they look good. They're happy, they're out in life and they're wearing things that make them feel beautiful. And whereas this moment would normally be something that would let my mind wander, I flipped that and I started to take that moment and instead of just saying, don't look for 3 seconds, I would do 3 steps. So, first off, acknowledge that I did not will that thought into existence. Acknowledge that I was powerless over that initial thought, that I didn't say, oh, I want to Google this person. I want to go like fantasize about this person. It was just bad programming. So, just acknowledge that and say, I don't want that. I need to do something else with it. Step 2 was to then humanize that person. Maybe they're on the way to meeting the love of their life. Maybe this person is on their way to a job interview or hanging out with some friends. Maybe today is going to be a core memory of them down the road. And this is going to be something special and unique that they look back on. The point is not the story. The point is that you're using this kind of story to humanize this person in a way that pornography doesn't allow you to do. Pornography is all about objectification and fantasy and using someone. And by taking this second step to humanize them and bring the reality of what is probably true in that scenario, one of them, or could be, it helps you to create space. The third step for me was what I call my totem. The totem for me was finding a moment that solidified and grounded me in my sobriety. My totem was a beautiful spring day laying in the hammock with my wife. The wind is rustling the leaves in the trees and the sun is shining just lightly down on us. There's the warmth, but there's still the coolness of the breeze. And my son at the time was 2 years old and was riding his scooter around on the sidewalk on the pavement. This became my totem memory, and this became the core grounding thought that I would have that would bring me back to why I wanted to be sober in the first place, what I was doing this for. Not for him, not for my son, not for my wife, but for me and the life that I knew I deserved and the life that I knew I wanted. So again, let's run that back. Step one is to acknowledge that the thought wasn't yours to begin with. This was bad programming. You didn't will that into existence. Step two, to humanize this person and to give them space as an individual, as a unique person, not connected to your fantasy. And step three, to give yourself an attaboy and to just say, this is why we're doing this. It was doing this consistently, not perfect, but consistently, that helped me build a ton of space between my addiction and my dependency on porn and the fantasizing and all of those different pieces that happened.